Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another Think Tank. Happy September, whatever today is, the 27th. Today's Think Tank, we are going to be talking about leveraging your listings to generate more listings. But before I start with that, I want to discuss that next week we are not having a Think Tank. So I'm going to let that sink in. I know that's very disappointing for many of you, but we are not doing the think tank because we are having a company-wide office meeting, and that's October the 4th. So we are looking forward to seeing the entire organization at Forest Gate Country Club, and that's why we're not having a think tank next week. So hope you can make it out. We don't do these very often. It's every quarter. So please make it out if you can. Forest Gate Country Club next Tuesday. That will be our company-wide office meeting. So let's dive right into today's topic, which is leveraging your listings to generate more. Now, what do I mean by leveraging listings? It's using that listing to attract more sellers and more listings. So if you market it properly, you're going to hear me say this over and over, you can use that listing and create a magnet where you attract sellers. So we're going to discuss some things to do to leverage your listings to market yourself in a way where you attract people. It's marketing yourself in a way to make sellers find you. When I was in production, I didn't have to go outbound because I created a magnet that made sellers reach out to me and they found me. So my phone was ringing, which is great because I didn't have to make cold calls, door knocking, etc. Because I created a magnet. So you want to create a marketing magnet that allows sellers to find you. It also helps you increase your local presence. So if you want to grow in an area and take over an area and get market share in an area, you definitely need to do these things in order to help create this magnet and drive sellers to find you. And last but not least, it helps you grow your network. The more people you have in your database and network, the more opportunities you have to make sales. Bottom line, those are the metrics. So any comments, guys, please chime in. I'm going to go over some of the things that will help in creating this magnet and help in leveraging your listings. Any feedback, anything you guys do, I'd appreciate it. If you find this content useful, once I'm going over it, of course, smash that like button. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe, follow me, as I'm always going over some tips and tools to help you guys grow your business. So let's dive into some of the ways you can market and what you should be doing on your listings to help leverage that listing to generate more. You have to be consistent. That's the key. There's not one thing. It's doing everything consistently over and over again. Keeping that brand and the way you market yourself consistent will lead to leveraging it. And what I mean by that is if you have one listing and you do this once, it's not going to work, but you have to do it on all of your listings. If a seller's on Zillow or whatever site and they see your listing inventory, one has a description, one doesn't, one has professional photography, one doesn't, one has one photo, the others have multiple. If you're not consistent, that's not going to excite a seller to reach out to you. But if they see the same things consistently done well, they want that person to market their home. I know I would. How about you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So let's get into it. Some of this stuff may be basic for some, and some of these things that you may want to add to what you're already doing. So one, of course, Captain Obvious, always use professional photography, whether it's a distressed home or not, a rental. Do your best to use professional photography because that's your marketing across the board. It's a smart investment in your business. And a lot of times it's your first impression on a seller. So it's not about that home, but it's also about a seller in the neighborhood, making that great first impression with them versus what sometimes are obvious cell phone photos or blurry or wrong angles or dark lighting. So you want to do a great job. And the way to do that, unless you're a part-time photographer on the side or a hobby, is to use professional photography. Always write good descriptions. You don't have to write kitchen, bathroom, just walk people through the home was always my approach. and you guys all have heard this before. Well, most of you have heard this before. When I was an agent in the East Brunswick office, there were several happy hours just to laugh around my descriptions, including the broker of record, and that's Carl. So I took a lot of pride in my descriptions, and it helped. I can say this, Scout's honor, that I had sellers say, yeah, I like the descriptions you wrote. I like the way you marketed your property. So it reinforced it to me and helped me double down. But always write descriptions, walk people through the home, point out the features and benefits, not just the obvious 3 beds, 2 baths, which is in the details. Use floor plans, guys. Most people are not using floor plans. Most of your professional photographers have an option to upgrade or add on floor plans, and buyers love floor plans. More importantly, it's a differentiator for you as an agent. If no agents are using floor plans and you are, use floor plans. One tip that I can give you with floor plans, don't bury them at the end of a listing, because sellers may look at your listing, scroll through a couple photos and say, okay, this looks good, but they may not go through 25 or 40 photos, and they may not see that you do floor plans. So don't bury them at the end. You may want to, and this is just a suggestion, you may want to use front of the house floor plan, then go into the house so they could see it, versus if it's at the end. Some sellers may not, and I'm speaking from experience, where I had an investor seller ask me, oh, do you do floor plans? And I said, of course. Did you not see it in my listings? And then through conversation, I realized he wasn't going through all the photos. So lesson learned, don't bury them all the way at the end. If you have one that has all 2 floors or 3 floors, put that maybe second or third photo. And then at the end, you can put floor by floor. So definitely use floor plans. Most agents aren't doing it, and it's a differentiator for you. Brochures are very, very recommended. One, it's really what you use to market and go and use when you're going on a listing presentation. So if you list a home in East Brunswick, Cranford, Middletown, Hamilton, and you have another listing appointment there, you can use that brochure and say, Mrs. Seller, Mr. Seller, this is a sample of my marketing. But if you don't get the brochures, you're just going to say, oh, yeah, I do all this professional stuff, right? And people want to feel it, see it, and know that it's real versus just you saying you do it. And you don't have any samples or examples of it. So the brochure is not to sell the home. No one's going to say, I'm buying this because of your fancy brochure. But the brochure is something you use for your marketing. And with that, when you are listing a home, doing an open house, that brochure with a whole sample kit of everything else you have is what you would mail to the neighbors. Some of you have heard the 5-5-10 rule. Reach out to 5 neighbors on the left, 5 neighbors on the right, the 10 houses across the street. That's what you would mail to the neighbors and invite them to the open house. You want to do that ahead of time. 1, to differentiate yourself. 2, to give them plenty of advance notice that you're having an open house and they can come. And 3, while mailing this stuff, you're showing them you're professional, you're different, and your marketing campaign and tools. So when they meet you, if they're thinking about selling, you don't have to talk about what you're doing marketing. They've already got samples of everything. You've already won them over. And if they do see, hey, that house sold for $500,000, my house is nicer, they're more likely to call an agent with a great marketing toolkit that they've received and that also had the success of selling that home for $500,000. So that's the value of brochures. I like to say, try to have one for each town, and don't put the price on the brochure, because if you're listing a house for $450, but then you go on a listing appointment for $800, you don't want the seller to say, well, that's not really my price point. My home's nicer. Do you sell homes at the $800 price point? So if you don't have the price, it is easier to use it, repurpose it. And also, if there's a price reduction on that home, the seller is going to ask you for new brochures with a lower price. So don't put prices on brochures. That's a quick tip. Online ads, Facebook ads, guys, really work to attract people, and you can really target. In most of my areas, I know a lot of my buyers are coming from Brooklyn, Bronx, and New York. So we boost the ads to those areas. You generate new leads and inquiries and opportunities to sell the home and convert inquiries into buyers. So definitely do ads. Inexpensive. You can do $10, $20, $30, however much you want, but it will absolutely grow your audience online and definitely be a lead gen tool. Certain homes that are sitting stale, that aren't selling, you may want to do an email blast. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a listing 30 days, 45 days, and you're not getting activity. What do? Right? You've done a price reduction. Seller doesn't want to drop the price anymore. What are your options? We know that not every agent checks the hot sheet. Also, a lot of the buyers drive what homes they get to see, and they kind of take control of that. So the agents are reactive to the auto emails going out to the buyers, and the buyers saying, hey, Olivier, I want to see this home. So if the agents aren't proactively saying, Mr. Buyer, here's the homes I've chosen for us to see, you sometimes have to put it in front of them because they're not checking the hot sheet. They don't really know the inventory. They're waiting for the auto emails to trigger the buyer to say, I want to see a home. So you may want to do an email blast to all the agents in the MLS or by county. One good tool is Zapier Flyer. It has it's connected to the MLSs, so it has all the agents, and you can do a nice email blast to county or MLS and really get the listing in front of people. And that's helped sell homes that have been sitting stale, that the agents didn't really pay attention to because of the days on market. Obviously do open houses, which I discussed. Some areas broker opens are warranted. If they are, you definitely want to do it. Get pamphlets. So shout out to First Team Title. They do these great flyers for open houses, no cost to you guys. And one of the brochures that they have is really impactful because it has all the local information, the demographics of the town, houses of worship, school information, etc. And it looks like you did all this research, put this all together, and all you did was send an email to the marketing department at First Team Title, which sends this back to you, and your sellers are very happy. So not just this pamphlet and brochure, but also the high gloss brochures. It appeases your seller, shows them that you're really earning the 5 to 6% commissions that you're getting. One cool thing is do Zillow walkthrough videos, because that helps boost your listing on Zillow and puts it at the top, which sellers love seeing their listings at the top. And that's another thing you can repurpose and show sellers. My listings get ranked higher because I go above and beyond with my marketing. So if you can, have your photographer do a Zillow walkthrough video. For those of you that are incorporating home warranties, if you know the systems are older, house isn't in the best shape, so you tell the seller, hey, one of the ways we get ahead of home inspection issues is we do a home warranty. Get the rider, because the rider on your sign sparks question, not only with buyers, but also with other sellers. Well, what's this home warranty? How does that work, right? And they may call you just because they don't know what it is. And think about it. If they're seeing 5 or 6 signs across the town of other agents, but they're not seeing home warranties, but you have it, they're probably going to call you to ask you what that is. They're thinking of selling and they want to know, how does this help? What is a home warranty? So it's just one other thing to differentiate yourself. If your sign has your name and phone number already on it already, you don't need a rider with the same thing, with the redundancy. So I'd put a rider on with a home warranty if you are using that. And speaking of signs, always try to get professional signage. The T-stakes are definitely a better presentation than the low to the ground. I don't even know what you call those.
Bandit signs.
Bandit signs?
They look like bandit signs more.
Okay. I think something different when I think of bandit signs, the ones with the little silver.
That's what I thought you were talking
about. No, but the big T frames definitely go a lot further, is showing your professionalism and separating yourself versus those other signs that, the ones,
the open house ones,
exactly. So if you can do that, do that. And let's see, just listed your souls. Those work in building your presence. So guys, it's not one of these things that work across the board. It's kind of a combination of all of these things. But as I said at the beginning, it's doing them consistently. There's no one magic pill There's not one marketing tool that's going to open the floodgates. But if you do this consistently, whenever you have a listing, that will attract that will create the magnet and attract sellers to you. And by the way, it's almost like businesses. In every town, there's a couple businesses that you may know to go to because you see their signs everywhere. So if you need, you're going to automatically think of this business, whether it's a painter, or a contractor, or a mechanic, because their signs are everywhere, they have a presence, you think, oh, I need this, I'm gonna go here. Well, that's what you can create for yourself if you leverage your listings properly, where people see enough of your signs, and when they need, they think of you because you've always been top of mind, in their face, all over town. So those are some of the things that you can do and implement. But again, sorry to be redundant, but I have to hammer this point home. It's about the consistency of always doing it. Because if you stop doing it, and that's when a seller looks at your listing or looks at your house for sale, goes to the open house, and you don't have the brochures and everything, but they're used to seeing me and my brochures, they're not going to be impressed. So that's it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Let me look at the comments.
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
What's your take on virtual staging for photos? When to do it? Or
Interesting. I've not used it that often, but I think when the photos don't show well for whatever reason, I think definitely do virtual staging. If it's just a bunch of empty rooms and the photos just look like same box, right? Same four walls, because there's no definition of what the room is, you might want to do virtual staging to help it show better. It definitely appeases sellers. They feel like you're going above and beyond. I think virtual staging has gotten much better. 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer, it looked like a digital cartoon almost, exactly. But I think it's gotten much better now, where you can't tell if it's virtual or if it's real staging. But yeah, I think it definitely helps you show better online. I don't remember the cost.
It's a lot less than really staging it.
Of course it is. Of course it is. But I would say, you know, before that, you may want to look at the floor plans and definitely the Zillow walkthrough video, which helps it boost it on Zillow. But the virtual staging definitely helps define rooms, where I've looked at listings and it's just every room, every picture is just 4 walls, and you don't know if it's a bedroom, living room, dining room, etc. So in cases like that, where you just have 4 walls and boxes in every picture, virtual staging definitely helps. And there's websites like Box Brownie, which you can do it yourself. That's inexpensive. So if you want to look in Google or use a Box Brownie, there's inexpensive ways to do virtual staging. You're going to invest a little time to do it yourself, but there are some solutions to that.
Right. Thank you.
All right. So we do have a comment. What if you have a listing that tenants occupied and tenants won't allow internal photos for privacy reasons? Oof, that's a very good question. And sometimes there is no solution if the tenants won't allow photos. But I would talk to the landlord and just explain the value of photos and have the landlord talk to the tenants. But I think it also comes down to, what are you taking photos of? The kitchens, the bathrooms, the dining room per se. Most of the rooms don't have valuables. So I would explain to them that you'll not shoot any personal photos. If they have photos on the walls of family portraits, you'll make sure to blur or take those out. And if they have computers and big screen TVs and things of value, that you will leave those out. So you can take pictures of the living room at different angles, where you're not facing the TV and you're not capturing the TV or computers. Bedrooms, put jewelry away if they have jewelry boxes, or you just take a different angle. But there are many rooms that should not have valuables, that they will feel like privacy is an issue, such as kitchen, bathrooms, dining rooms for the most part. And then of course, some other rooms if they have, but yeah, that's tricky. Typically it's about personal stuff like kids' rooms or family photos, or things like TVs, computers, jewelry, but you can exclude those things from the photos, etc. And just sometimes walking them through that, hey, let me go online with you. every home has interior photos. Homes aren't being robbed. You don't see that on the news from realtors, et cetera, which is true, right? There's ways around it. People are not just walking in to homes. There's scheduled appointments. We know who's going. They're going with realtors. So there's security. And if you explain that, sometimes it helps, but just leaving out, the real answer is leaving out the valuables and things that are concerning, like family portraits and things that are worth money. That's how you would do that. So let me see any other comments. If not, we're going to wrap up. Anything else? Great. So that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. Again, next Tuesday, sorry for the disappointment, no think tank, but we will be hosting our company-wide office meeting at Forest Gate. So looking forward to see you guys there. Thank you for tuning in and see you in 2 weeks. Take care.